With your host, Andrew Donaldson. This is Heard Tell.
So you might have heard tell that there's been some debate about AI and college and education in general. I want to talk about this for a second, and I just got done doing TV if you're wondering why I'm dressed up. But just real quick, because this really stuck in my craw when I read this. New York Magazine had a piece out, I'll link to it in the notes, about this guy who basically went to an Ivy League college and claims that he did all the work through AI, ChatGPT, this sort of thing, because he found it boring and didn't want to do any of it. And then the bumper quote was, well, why do you bother getting into a Ivy League institution if you're not going to do any of the work and actually do any of the learning? And he said, well, that's where you meet your co-founders and find a wife. Okay, let's back up for a second. I first really started paying attention to AI as a problem. I have a very good friend of mine that I knew from 6th grade all the way through school. We grew up together, played basketball together, very good friend of mine. He lives in Costa Rica now, and he teaches English. And a couple of years ago, when we first started getting these AI bots and these sorts of things, he was the one that told me, because he teaches English down there. He's like, hey, all my kids down here are trying to cheat using AI on their English stuff, and I can pick it out because, native English speaker, they're not. They don't know how to edit it to make it sound right. This was several years ago, and this is in Costa Rica. Not the beach part. He lives up in the jungle part. So if he's having that trouble, I'm sure it's epidemic. Now, the other thing that happened with some of this is COVID. And I saw this with my own children. When they shut down the schools, we told a whole generation what we thought about their education. And we told them that secondary education is about a jobs program and a daycare. And if you learn something on the side, that's great too, but it's secondary to all that. That's what we told them through our actions. And they believed us. I know my own youngest child went from a straight A student to barely passing and looked me dead in the eye and said, well, I saw the news thing. They're not allowed to fail us anyway, so why should I bother doing the work? Now, that's an integrity problem we had to deal with, but technically correct. They passed a law that or a statute, I guess I should say, that they couldn't give any kid any less than a 50 no matter what because of COVID, because they got to keep the numbers up, keep the funding up. Education is always going to have this problem. But I wanted to give you my perspective on the AI thing a little bit because I'm an AI skeptic, and I don't mean that I don't understand that AI is an important thing. I think the way the media covers it and the people that are trying to get money overblow it. Remember, what we're calling AI right now is still essentially a souped up search engine. It's not thinking for itself. It's not creating anything. So if you consider that most of AI is just a regurgitating of something better that went into it and it regurgitates out a less superior product, now you start putting it in the proper framework, especially when it comes to things like academics and studying. And just so you know, my bias is I've been in college, taking college courses for over 20 years because when I originally went to college, I was immature, stupid, and got either flunked out, failed out, or they called dad and told him not to let me bring you back, depending on which version of the story you want to believe. And I went and got a job at Walmart, and I was working at Walmart, and I started taking classes at the local community college. And at the community college, I learned how to enjoy learning again and that I wanted to learn. And I've been taking college classes ever since, whether it was while I was active duty, working on a transportation stuff, which was my core competency. Later on, I've studied theology academically for almost 20 years just because I enjoy it. And this past week, I enrolled in community college again because I'm going to take a culinary program because, Twitter Supper Club, I'm a big foodie. I like to cook. I have some GI Bill left. I'm like, you know what? Why am I studying this other stuff? I want to do something fun. Let's do something a little more left brain, a little more creative. My family's like, you need to go do something fun. You're too uptight. So I was like, all right. So I signed up for culinary school at the community college. My youngest daughter goes there half the day, even though she's a high school junior. My other child's taking a course there right now. I was like, you know what? I'm there 3-4 days a week anyway. Why don't I take some classes? I will not be using AI. I'm not trying to find a co-founder, whatever that is. And I sure don't need a wife out of it. I just want to learn. And the way you learn is to study. And you have to take the classes. And one of the funny things about this is, and I was showing my kids and laughing about it a little bit, I have so much transfer credit because it's culinary and because it's going to be an associate's degree in culinary studies, I have to take normal entry level college classes. And because it's only a 69, 70 hour program, you can only have, I think it's 20% of your degree transfer in. I'm going to have to take some remedial classes that I've already taken before. So I'm going to have to, they brought over my English and my basic math and speech and things like that. But I'm going to have to take out humanities. I'm going to have to take an advanced speech. I'm going to have to take a couple of them introductory classes. And you know what? I'm going to have fun with it. I'm going to go, I'm going to enjoy, I'm going to take notes, because last time I did it 20, 25 years ago, it's a lot different now. And, I'll be 45 when classes start here in May. This will be a learning experience. One of the things with this AI stuff, and why that guy in the New York Magazine thing got my goat a little bit, he completely missed the point. He's just seeing what he thinks he's going to get out of education. And this is a broader problem in education, especially post-secondary education, higher learning, however you want to call it. This is a huge problem right now because we've taught a couple generations of students that you go to college to get a career and an upscale into your life. You're up-leveling your life by getting a college degree, and if you don't do that, you're not going to have a life. Now, that's wrong on a lot of levels. I'm telling you, the trades are hiring people at excessive salaries right now if you just promise to work for them for a while. You want really good money right now? Go be a plumber or an electrician. They're making gobloads of money because they can't get or keep people. I know I had the plumber out to the house a while back, and I was joking with him. He was 26, 27 years old, had just bought his second house because he had sold his first house. And he was telling me, he's like, yeah, I'm starting guys with ridiculously high salaries if they just promise to stay 6 months. Like, there's jobs out there in the trades if you want them. You don't have to go to college. You can do content creation. What I'm doing does not require a degree. There are lots of people do, but the fact that I'm a community college guy by trade, when I go and pitch stuff, I have a different point of view because I didn't go through the normal pipeline that a pundit or talking head has. I went to community college. I went to the military. I did my schooling online. I have a lot of life experience. I worked in the civilian world. You need to find your own path. I've told my own children this. I was like, you're going to have to find your own paths. And they're not all going to be just go to college between the ages of 18 to 22, and then somebody's going to hand you a degree. That's not how this works. But that guy thinks that's how that works. Well, you just go to school because you're going to get this out of it. The problem is, in reality, and in education, and maybe I'm biased because I grew up with two professional educators in my home with my parents, it's actually the stuff you don't plan on learning in college or taking classes or taking a vocational course or just taking a certificate course. It's the things when you go to a place like a community college or even a 4-year university or college. The stuff you didn't expect to learn turns out to be what's the most important in your life going forward that you take from it. I remember taking a music appreciation course at that community college while I was working at Walmart. I did not expect to get anything out of that class, didn't really want to do it, but I didn't want to do any of the other humanities I had to take, so I took music appreciation. You know what? Turned out to be one of my favorite classes. I got to talk about, you didn't have to perform music, you had to talk about music. And I just started writing essays about music, and I had to write papers about music. And it was just fun. I would have never assumed that. There's been other courses over the years that I took that I thought I would hate, and I ended up loving them. And I've told my kids, I was like, you need to take some of these just liberal arts classes because you never know what's going to hit that button in your brain, and you may find a lifelong passion. The idea that from 18 to 22, you're going to figure out what you're going to do for the next 50 years is pretty outdated, antiquated, and frankly, foolish. Now, not everybody's going to be me. I'm on career 6/C, plan D1, column 4. I never planned on talking to you like this or being a published writer. I never planned on being on TV and radio or having a podcast or any of this stuff. I'm currently looking at doing a really big policy project. The idea that the policy people want my opinion on anything blows my mind. Cracked me up when I was doing mentoring with young voices. You got these Ivy League graduates, and here I am telling you when I got thrown out of college before Thanksgiving my freshman year. Life's funny, but you have to give yourself a wide range of options to find those paths. And I think when you go to college and you think you're just going to get X out of it, co-founder and wife, career, money, whatever your goal is, if you skip the journey just to get to the destination using AI or any other shortcut, the destination isn't going to be nearly as fulfilling because you probably missed out on a lot of the stuff you needed to know. Now, that doesn't mean there ain't classes that you can slub it a little bit on. And there's some of the kookiest people you will ever meet are college professors because they're folks that can't function in the real world. That's just the truth. You're going to end up dealing with some oddballs. But that's also a, marketable skill set, because guess what? In the job world, you're going to meet oddballs. You're going to meet kooky people. You're going to have bosses you can't do anything about, and you're going to have to learn how to deal with them and give them what they want so you can still get your paycheck. Something else I tell my kids is like, those teachers are driving you nuts. This is a life skill time. You need to learn how to deal with them. Get what you need. Get out of there. You don't have to see them next year. You're going to have bosses, and you're going to have people you work with that you can't do anything about. And dealing with bad professors is probably a life skill you might need. Go to school, or go to higher education, or go to community college, or get a certificate, or take an online course, or whatever the case may be. I've done all that. But understand, the learning is the point. Because if you predetermine what you're going to learn, or you let AI do it for you, you're just letting somebody else's regurgitation tell you what your whole meal of life is going to be. You wouldn't do that in a restaurant. You wouldn't do that in your dinner table. Don't do that with your education. It doesn't matter if you're 14, 40, or 84. There's still things to learn. One thing I've been doing a little work on is senior citizens, people that are retiring younger. There's numbers now. They're starting to go back to college and learn things because they just want to learn stuff. Learning should be a lifelong thing. It shouldn't be something that you just slam into ChatGPT and get your certificate. Now, I can't do anything if you have a lack of integrity and want to do that, and plenty of people do it, I know. But I'm telling you, you're going to be a lesser human being for it, and not just because of the morality of it. You'll be lesser because you'll know less, because you won't learn how to learn anything in the future. The only thing you learn cheating with ChatGPT is how to cheat. And when the technology changes, you're not going to know how to cheat anymore. Then what are you going to do? Just learn it the first time. Thus ends the lesson.
All the music on Her Tell is provided under a Creative Content license from monstercat.com.